One, two, three.
Hi, and welcome to The Fate of Humanity. I'm your host, Jack. Let's begin. So as always, we're starting the show off with Gimme the Good Stuff. The part where I talk about interesting news, or good news, fun news, anything cool that's happening that you wouldn't normally hear about. So today I'm going to talk about a cool new statue that is being unveiled in Palo Alto, California. So just a few days ago, the statue was unveiled, and Nikola Tesla is kind of shown to be a good symbol for Palo Alto, California, the big Silicon Valley area, because he is one of the inventors known for designing AC power, what runs through pretty much every American home. His entrepreneurial spirit is a good inspiration for all of those engineers, inventors, and startups in Silicon Valley. The statue even gives off free Wi-Fi and has a time capsule to be opened in 2042. Further showing the entrepreneurial spirit of Silicon Valley, the statue was also completely funded by crowdfunding, which is something very common in Silicon Valley, as used by startups. The statue is trying to pay respects to Nikola Tesla, who isn't very properly recognized. Not many statues or any statues have been made about Nikola Tesla, even though he contributed to an aspect that we all live with every day. The power that runs through our homes wouldn't be possible, or at least it wouldn't have come as soon as it did, if not for his contributions. Alright, so next up, we have Today I Found Out. Now this one's going to be a little different than what you've seen in the past. Today I found out how to make a grilled cheese. Now, this grilled cheese doesn't fit into any of those tiers if you were to rank a grilled cheese on that tier. Today I found out how to make a grilled cheese fit for the gods. Now, you may think that making a good grilled cheese comes down to what's inside. The cheeses and the combination that you grill together. The contents within. But that's all wrong. You see, it's the bread on the outside that changes the game of the grilled cheese. So I use a sourdough. That's just what I was able to get my hands on, as getting a variety of foods during quarantine is a little bit hard. But the sourdough ended up being a great choice anyway. But it's not just the sourdough. You see, anyone can take a sourdough, slap some cheese on it, and put it in a grill and get a grilled cheese. Now, the tip I found out was to use a mixture made of melted butter and Parmesan cheese. You know, like the Parmesan cheese you got in those little tins you can sprinkle on things. Just take your melted butter, take your Parmesan cheese, combine it, and then spread it over the bread. And then that's what goes on the outside. That's what gets grilled. Now, I can't talk about this anymore. I prepared a short clip of what this grilled cheese means to me. Let it run. Wow, now that is what I call a grilled cheese. And if you haven't tried it yourself, if you haven't heard of that kind of style of making it, you should definitely try it out. I think it's worth a shot. You know, it's a little extra steps to making something that's usually very simple. But for me, it took something that I had never really eaten after, the 5th grade into something that I actually kind of love to make for myself. It's just a little simple thing that's surprisingly good. But it's a lot of cheese, so I would understand if you're a little hesitant. So next we have, did that really happen? The part where I talk about a historical event, recent or far in the past, that really did happen. Now, if you've taken any history class in school, you were probably led to thinking that during the Industrial Revolutions, labor strikes were one of the things that became popular. And you would probably think that that's when they first started becoming popular, labor strikes during the Industrial Revolution, because that's when factory work became a thing. That's when people were forced to working long hours. That's when people didn't have a lot of say. There weren't labor rights. And so that's when you would think strikes first originated. But the first labor strike in recorded history actually happened in ancient Egypt. Egyptian culture was very focused on maintaining harmony. But when resources eventually began to run thin and the workers started to miss meals, naturally a labor strike ensued. They were being forced to work, but they weren't able to get the food in time. The food was running late. They weren't able to get it to them in time because of that shortage. For the first time in the culture's history, the workers put down their little scythes and their tools and whatever they were working on, and they demanded food. They said, "We're hungry. Feed us." And this shocked the officials in ancient Egypt at the time because their culture was so focused on maintaining harmony. It hadn't happened in the past. And so that was the first labor strike. The final part of the show is the future is now. The part where I like to talk about how science fiction is slowly becoming a reality. Those sci-fi shows that we all love, like Star Wars, are slowly becoming a thing. I love science fiction. And when I found out about this little experiment that took place in Australia, I was totally shocked. Cloud brightening. Cloud brightening? So an experiment dubbed cloud brightening was just taken off the coast of Australia over the Great Barrier Reef. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know about rising sea temperatures due to global warming and climate change, and how coral is taking a big hit because of these rising temperatures, many times leading to bleaching when the temperatures put a strain on the coral, leading them to give up their color and eventually start to kill the coral. Now, this is a big problem for not only the coral reefs that we love, like the Great Barrier Reef, but also the marine life that live and thrive off of them. So, a group of scientists had a theoretical experiment that was tested to help lower ocean temperatures. The high-tech solution? To put a snow cannon on a boat, shoot reflective salt crystals into the air, and use the reflective salts to reflect some of the sunlight. And apparently the results were surprisingly encouraging. I'm not sure if this is a long-term solution or very scalable, but it's interesting to see that there are very creative solutions to some of the rising sea temperature issues that are becoming more of a thing. The next part of the future is now is something kind of interesting. So you may have heard a few days ago that the Air Force just graduated their 2019-2020 class of officers. And along with them was 86 new members of the Space Force. So the Space Force, very new thing. And it's not about sending military spacecraft into the sky. into space to fight aliens or have combat in space. It essentially just acts as a centralized branch to do what the military already does in space, but more efficiently and more centralized. And what this basically means is satellite communication, and well, that's most of it. Satellite imagery. So sadly, even with 86 new Space Force officers, we won't see any military spacecraft taken off along with their Jedi Masters on board. But I say, just give it some time. So with that, I'd say the fate of humanity is looking pretty good. I hope all of you are staying home, maybe eating some amazing grilled cheeses, checking out some history from the past, and looking at amazing solutions that we have for the future. I'm your host Jack, signing off, and I hope you guys all have a great one.